Have you ever wondered if a person can change when all they've built is a lonely life? Adam Johnson, a powerful billionaire, has lived like this for 60 years. But one rainstorm and an 8-year-old girl changed everything. In moments full of surprises, Adam, a man who thought he could control everything, is forced to confront things he never anticipated. A torn photo, a homeless child, and an inescapable past. Will he find the love and forgiveness he's lost over the years? This story of awakening and second chances will make you reflect on the true meaning of life. Welcome to the emotional journey of Adam Johnson. A journey not only about change, but about love, family, and the important decisions in life. The New York sky seemed to shatter with relentless ice-cold rain pouring down on a late November afternoon. From his office on the 42nd floor, Adam Johnson watched the chaotic scene below. To him, everything in the world, the gridlocked traffic, the rushing pedestrians and their worries and troubles, was just a blurry shade of gray, not worth a second thought. He liked this view. It turned people into tiny dots and shrank all their problems with distance. It gave him a sense of security, an illusion that he could control everything, even the chaos. At 60, Adam was a tech mogul, a man hailed by the financial world as a ruthless genius. The title was perfectly fitting. Ruthlessness had brought him to this position. It had helped him amass a colossal fortune and a power he believed could dictate everything, even other people's time. Yet at this very moment, as his fingers tapped a rhythm on the cold glass, Adam felt a profound emptiness. A billionaire respected, feared, and utterly alone. The phone on his desk rang. His private secretary, Diane, who had worked for him for over 15 years, announced, "Mr. Johnson, the board meeting has been moved to 9 a.m. tomorrow. And Mr. Harrington has called 3 times. It sounds urgent." Adam hung up without waiting for an answer. Harrington could wait. Everyone could wait. Power, after all, was the ability to decide everyone else's time. He put on his jacket and checked his watch. 6:30 p.m. There was no reason to go home early, but no reason to stay either. The stark truth was both his office and his suburban mansion were equally empty. Only the scenery of the emptiness changed. In his private elevator, Adam rubbed his temples. A dull headache was setting in. He needed a drink, maybe 2. The lobby of the building was deserted at this hour, another advantage of being the last to leave. The rain grew heavier as he stepped out the glass doors toward the sidewalk, where his polished black Bentley should have been waiting. But the car wasn't there. Adam scowled, annoyed. He never had to wait. Before he could pull out his phone to call and express his frustration, he noticed a note taped to the wall inside the sheltered entrance. "Mr. Johnson, family emergency. A replacement driver will arrive in 30 minutes. Apologies for the inconvenience." He let out a small, derisive laugh. Family emergency. It was always family that got in the way of efficiency. He put his phone back in his pocket. There would be no angry call. Marcus, his driver, was a reliable man. Adam decided to walk to a nearby garage where he kept another car. It was a faster way than waiting. Opening his expensive umbrella, he stepped out. The cold raindrops still lashed at his face despite the covering. And then he saw it. At first, it was just a faint dot, a misplaced color in the city's gray landscape. Then it became clearer. A child huddled under a narrow awning, soaked to the bone. Normally, Adam would have walked right past. New York was full of sad stories, and he wasn't the kind of person to get involved. He was the type who would sign a large check for a charity at a gala and then move on with his life. But something made him slow down. Perhaps it was the contrast between the small figure and the towering skyscrapers. Or maybe it was simply the fact that the child was utterly alone with no adult nearby. The rain was now a downpour. Adam stopped. It was a little girl about 8 or 9 years old. Her golden hair was soaked, plastered to her pale face. She wore a coat that was far too thin, clutching something to her chest, like a treasure. She was visibly trembling. "Hey," Adam called, keeping his distance. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" The girl looked up, startled. Her deep blue eyes stared at him. Something in that gaze stirred a strange feeling within Adam, like a distant echo. "I don't have parents." Her tiny voice was almost swallowed by the sound of the rain. Adam stepped closer, extending his umbrella to shelter her. "You shouldn't be out alone in this weather. Where do you live?" She hesitated, clearly having been told not to speak to strangers, but the need for help won out over her caution. "I don't have anywhere to live," she finally answered. Adam observed her more closely. Despite her wet clothes and dirty face, she had an unusual dignity. She didn't look like a child who had been homeless for long. There was a certain composure in her posture. "What's your name?" "Maria." "Maria, what's your last name?" She hesitated. "Clark." Adam felt a shock run through his chest. Clark. A name he had buried long ago, along with the memories he wanted to forget. "Where is your mother, Maria?" His voice suddenly sounded different. Tears welled in the girl's eyes, but she held them back with a remarkable pride for her age. "My mom passed away 3 days ago." The heavy words hung between them, mingling with the incessant rain. Adam's chest felt heavy. I'm so sorry," he said. And for the first time in many years, he genuinely meant it. "Is there no one else to take care of you?" Maria shook her head. "Mom told me to find the man in the picture. She said he would help me." And then Adam saw what she was clutching. It was a photograph wrapped in a makeshift piece of plastic, wrinkled from Maria's small fingers. "Can I see it?" he asked, his voice full of hesitation. Maria handed him the torn photo. Adam held it carefully, as if it might disintegrate at any moment, and then time stopped. It was Rachel. His Rachel. Older than the last time he'd seen her, but unmistakable. The same determined smile, the same eyes that were now looking at him through the little girl in front of him. The photo was torn right where another person should have been. Him. Adam recognized it as an old picture from before the argument, before he had kicked his daughter out. "Is this?" His voice trembled. "Is this your mom?" Maria nodded. "Rachel Clark. The best mom in the world." His ex-wife's last name. Rachel had abandoned the name Johnson, just as Adam had abandoned her. Adam felt the world spin. In front of him was his granddaughter, a person he hadn't known existed. The daughter he had disowned 8 years ago, when Rachel chose to pursue her own path instead of working for the family business. "Do you know my mom?" Maria asked, her blue eyes. Rachel's eyes, her mother, Elizabeth's eyes staring at him. Adam swallowed hard. "Yes, a long time ago." "Are you the man in the picture?" The question was direct, but Adam realized she didn't recognize him. How could she? The last time he saw Rachel, she was 22. Maria probably hadn't even been born yet. "Why do you think that?" he asked cautiously. "Because you stopped to talk to me. No one else did. And Mom said he would look very important." A knot formed in Adam's throat. Important. That's how the world saw him. Important, powerful, successful. But not a father. never a father. Did your mother say anything about him? Adam asked, avoiding confirming or denying Maria's question. She nodded. Not much, just that he was a busy man, that he built very big things, and that I should find him if anything ever happened to her. Adam felt the weight of those words. Rachel, even after everything, had left her daughter one last lifeline, him. She trusted that despite everything, he would not turn his back on his own grandchild. Are you hungry? He asked suddenly, realizing she was shivering from the cold. The rain still lashed around them, but it no longer seemed to matter. Maria nodded almost imperceptibly. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Something shattered inside Adam. His granddaughter, his own flesh and blood, was hungry and alone on the streets of New York while he signed million-dollar deals in his comfortable office. Let's get out of this rain, he said, extending his hand. I know a place nearby where we can eat and talk. Maria looked at the outstretched hand, hesitating. Mom said not to go with strangers. Your mom was right, Adam replied solemnly. But I think in this case she'd agree. After a moment's consideration, Maria took his hand. It was small and cold. Adam felt a sense of responsibility he hadn't experienced in years. They walked together under the umbrella to a diner on the corner. It was a simple but warm and dry place, the kind of diner Adam would normally never set foot in, but it now felt like the coziest place on earth. They sat in a booth in the back. Adam took off his wet jacket and realized Maria had nothing to change into. Are you very cold? He asked, full of concern. I'm used to it, she replied with a pride that broke his heart. A waitress came over, looking curiously at the strange pair. A hot chocolate for the little lady, Adam ordered, and a sandwich. What kind of sandwich would you like? He asked Maria. Any kind is fine, she replied softly. I'm not picky. Then the special for her, Adam decided, and a coffee for me. When the waitress left, a silence fell between them. Adam looked at the girl in front of him. There was so much of Rachel in her, the face, the determined chin, the intelligence in her eyes. What happened to your mother? He finally asked. Maria took a deep breath. She was sick for a long time, but she kept saying she would be okay. Her small voice didn't waver, but her eyes betrayed the pain. She wasn't okay, and there's no one else, no other family, just her and me. Adam felt guilt pressed down on his shoulders. Rachel had faced an illness, perhaps a terminal one, alone. She had raised a child alone and died alone while he had accumulated wealth. Where have you been since your mom passed? At my neighbor Mrs. Martinez's house. She was very nice, but she said she couldn't keep me. She has 5 kids of her own. Maria held up the torn photo again. She helped me go find the man in the picture. She said I should start at the Gibson Enterprises building. Adam held his breath. That woman knew the connection, knew who he was. That's why you were there. Maria nodded. I've been waiting for 2 days. Mrs. Martinez said he always comes out that door, but there were so many people, and then the rain. The waitress returned with the hot chocolate and coffee. Maria held the mug with both hands, soaking up its warmth. She took a sip, and her eyes brightened for a moment, a flash of childlike joy that pierced Adam's heart. Is it good? He asked. She nodded, a little bit of chocolate on her upper lip. Maria, Adam began carefully, what did your mom say about your father? She lowered her head. She said he left before I was born. That he was an artist she met in Paris, but he wasn't a bad person. He just wasn't ready to be a dad. A kind lie. Rachel had spared her daughter the painful truth about her grandfather. She had never told Maria about how Adam had kicked her out of the house when she chose to study art instead of business. The sandwich arrived, and Maria ate hungrily, trying not to show her desperation, but clearly ravenous. Adam watched her eat, thinking of all the meals he had missed with Rachel, and now with Maria. "How long was your mom sick?" he asked, trying to piece together the last 8 years. "She was always a little sick," Maria replied between bites. "But she got much sicker this year. She had to stop painting. She was too tired." Adam felt a punch to the gut. Rachel had pursued her dream. She had become an artist despite him. "Did your mom sell her paintings?" Maria nodded proudly. "She was famous in our neighborhood. People came from far away to buy her paintings, mostly landscapes. She taught art, too." Adam tried to imagine the life Rachel had built. A modest life, certainly very different from what he had planned for her, but clearly full of purpose and love. "And what about school? Do you go to school?" "Of course," Maria replied, looking slightly offended. "Mom said, education is the only thing no one can ever take away from you." Words he had once said to Rachel decades ago. She had passed them on. The sandwich quickly disappeared. Maria's face was rosier, her eyes clearer after eating. "And now what?" she asked suddenly. "Mrs. Martinez said I couldn't go back. She said the man in the picture would take care of me." Adam felt the weight of the decision. He was the man in the picture, the person Rachel, despite everything, had designated as a haven for her daughter. "Do you trust me, Maria?" he asked, unsure if he deserved that trust. The girl looked at him with understanding eyes. "I don't know yet. But my mom trusted you, and that means a lot." Adam felt something crack open inside him. Rachel had trusted him even after everything. She had sent her daughter, her most precious treasure, to him. "Do you know who I am?" he finally asked. Maria shook her head. "A rich man who knew my mom." Adam took a deep breath. He wasn't ready for the whole truth. Not now. Not in this fragile moment. "I'm a man who will take care of you," he replied. "If you'll let me." Maria looked at him again. "You're the man in the picture," she concluded. This time it wasn't a question. Adam neither confirmed nor denied it. Instead, he asked, "Do you have any belongings, clothes, toys, a backpack at Mrs. Martinez's house? Should we go get it?" Maria nodded. "It's nearby in Brooklyn." Adam took out his phone and sent a message to his driver canceling the appointment. He had something more important to do. Outside, the rain had eased, mirroring what was happening inside him. The storm had subsided, giving way to something new. Uncertain, frightening, but somehow more real than anything he had felt in years. "Then let's go get your things," he said, standing up and leaving a generous amount of money to pay the bill. "And after that, we'll figure out the next steps." Maria slid off the seat, still clutching the torn photograph. Adam looked at her, the granddaughter he had never known, the second chance he knew he didn't deserve. As they stepped onto the street, the rain had become a gentle drizzle. Adam still held the umbrella open, mostly to shelter Maria. As they walked side by side, he felt something awaken within him, something he had thought was long dead. Hope. The luxurious black Bentley glided smoothly through the magnificent streets, leaving the noise and grayness of the city behind. Inside, Maria sat silently in the back seat, her worn backpack on her lap, her eyes fixed on the window. All the way from Mrs. Martinez's apartment, Maria only occasionally answered Adam's questions with brief words, making it difficult for him to start a conversation. This silence was in stark contrast to the roar of the rain outside, but it weighed heavier on Adam. Finally, the car turned onto a private road lined with neatly trimmed trees until it stopped in front of a colossal mansion. It was a modern architectural creation with clean lines, a combination of glass and concrete, lacking any of the softness or warmth of a traditional home. "We're here," Adam announced, gauging Maria's reaction. Her eyes widened in surprise when she saw the house. "You live here all by yourself?" Her direct and simple question caught Adam off guard. "Yes," he replied, then added as if to justify something. "It's convenient for work." The truth was, this mansion with its 6 bedrooms, an indoor pool, a gym, and a movie theater was never built for him to live in alone. It was designed for a family that Adam had lost. Thomas, the driver, opened the car door. "Welcome back, sir. May I take the young lady's luggage?" Adam almost laughed at the formality as Thomas referred to the small, worn-out backpack Maria was clutching, as if it held a treasure trove. "No, that's not necessary. You can park the car, Thomas. I won't need it anymore tonight." Maria followed Adam into the main entrance, her small, timid steps shuffling on the perfectly arranged cobblestone. The main door, an impressive work of dark wood and glass, opened automatically as they approached. "The security system," Adam explained, noticing her flinch. "The house recognizes when I get close." Inside the house was even more impressive than the outside. The foyer had a double-height ceiling and a floating staircase looking as if it had stepped out of an architectural magazine. Everything was pristine and minimalist, and Maria immediately noticed, "It's cold." "You have a really big house," she remarked, her voice echoing softly in the empty space. "Bigger than I need." Adam admitted, suddenly becoming aware of this extravagance through the eyes of a child. There were no toys scattered about, no shoes lying around, no coats casually hung, no sign of a child or a family life. It was like a museum, a place for display, not a home. "I'll show you where you'll be staying," he said, leading her up the stairs. "There are a few guest rooms. You can choose whichever one you like." Maria walked up the stairs slowly, one hand on the stainless steel railing, the other clutching the strap of her backpack. Adam noticed her looking around intently at the abstract paintings on the walls, the minimalist sculptures in the alcoves, and the complete absence of family photos. The hallway on the second floor was spacious and silent with identical doors. Adam opened the first one on the right. "This is one of the guest rooms. It has its own bathroom." Maria peeked inside. The room was tidy with a king-sized bed, modern gray and blue furniture, and a view of the back garden. It was perfectly arranged and utterly soulless. "It looks like a hotel," she remarked bluntly. Adam swallowed. It was. The whole place was like a luxury hotel, spotless, comfortable, but completely devoid of a soul. "Let's look at the others," he suggested, trying not to show how her comment had affected him. They looked at 2 more rooms each, as elegant and sterile as the first. In the 4th room, Maria paused a little longer. It had a small balcony and a warmer color palette with amber accents. "I like this one," she finally decided. Adam nodded, relieved that they had made a decision. "Great, then this will be your room." He hesitated, realizing he needed to ask, "Do you have any other clothes besides what's in your backpack?" Maria shook her head. "Just what Mrs. Martinez could get from our apartment. The rest—" She didn't finish the sentence, but Adam understood. The rest were probably gone now. The apartment had been sealed after Rachel's death. "All right, tomorrow we'll buy whatever you need." Adam glanced at his watch. "You must be tired. Do you want to rest a bit before dinner?" She seemed to consider the offer. "Can I take a shower?" "Of course." Adam pointed to a door in the corner of the room. There are clean towels in the closet. If you need anything, I'll be downstairs. Just, just call. Maria nodded, still clutching her backpack protectively. Adam hesitated at the door. Was there something else he should say, something he should do? This situation was so strange, so far from his comfort zone, that he felt completely lost. "Thank you," Maria said, simply, breaking the silence. Adam felt a lump in his throat. "There's no need to thank me. Get some rest. Dinner will be at 7. He left the room, gently closing the door behind him. In the hallway, he allowed himself a moment of controlled panic. What was he doing? He knew nothing about taking care of a child. He didn't even know how to take care of his own daughter when he had the chance. He hurried down the stairs and headed for his office, the only place in the house where he felt comfortable. Sitting at his heavy oak desk, he picked up the phone. "Martha, I need you to come in early tomorrow." "Yes, I know it's your day off, but something has happened. My granddaughter is here." He paused, hearing the housekeeper's gasp on the other end of the line. "Yes, my granddaughter. I'll explain everything tomorrow. For now, please prepare dinner for 2 tonight. Something a child might like." After hanging up, Adam opened the bottom drawer of his desk and took out a bottle of whiskey and a glass. He poured a generous amount and took a long sip, feeling the amber liquid burn his throat. What would Rachel say if she could see him now? His daughter, whom he had disowned for not meeting his expectations, had sent her own daughter to him in her dying moments. The irony was too painful to face soberly. The whiskey did not soothe his thoughts. After the second glass, he decided to go check on Maria. Leaving his office, he noticed the house was eerily silent. It wasn't just ordinary silence, but a strange stillness, as if the space itself was holding its breath. He quietly walked up the stairs and stopped in front of her room door. He didn't hear the sound of water running. Maybe she had finished her shower. He knocked softly. "Maria, are you all right?" When there was no answer, a sense of panic rose within him. He knocked again, a little harder. "Maria." Still no response. He decided to open the door just to check. The room was empty. The backpack was on the bed, open, with a few neatly folded clothes next to it. But the girl was nowhere to be seen. A wave of panic hit him. Where could she have gone? The house was too big for a child to explore alone. There was an indoor pool, a basement, too many places where things could go wrong. "Maria!" He called out louder, his voice echoing through the hallway. After checking the bathroom and confirming it was empty, Adam ran into the hallway, calling her name over and over again. He checked the other bedrooms, the mezzanine, the upstairs library. Nothing. He practically ran down the stairs, his mind conjuring increasingly alarming scenarios. Had she gone outside? Had she decided she didn't want to stay with a stranger? Was she lost somewhere on the grounds? That's when he heard it. A sound so out of place that it took him a moment to recognize it. A child humming softly. Following the sound, Adam came to the living room, a space he rarely used, preferring the comfort of his office. There, sitting on the floor in front of the unlit fireplace, was Maria. Her hair was still damp from her shower. She was in clean clothes, and around her were a few small items that Adam couldn't make out from a distance. "Maria," he breathed in relief. "I was looking for you." She looked up, surprised. "I'm sorry, I finished my shower quickly and wanted to see the house." Adam walked closer and saw what she had laid out in front of her. An old rag doll, 2 children's books, and a beautifully carved wooden box opened to reveal a few childish drawings and some photographs. "Is this your stuff?" he asked, sitting on a nearby sofa. Maria nodded. My treasures, she explained seriously. Mom said I should bring the most important things. Adam looked at the modest collection. Was this all that was left of her life with Rachel? A few toys, books, and memories that fit into a small backpack. Can I see? He asked gently. After a moment's hesitation, Maria picked up one of the books and handed it to him. It was a worn copy of The Little Prince. It was Mom's favorite book, she explained. She read it to me every night. Adam turned the pages carefully. On the first page there was a handwritten inscription, "To my Maria. Always remember that what is essential is invisible to the eye. With love, Mom." The handwriting was unmistakably Rachel's. He handed the book back, afraid Maria would see the emotion in his eyes. Your mom had excellent taste in books. She smiled for the first time since he had met her, a small smile that lit up her face for a moment and then vanished. Do you have children? She asked abruptly, her blue eyes. Rachel's eyes staring at him. The question was a punch to Adam's gut. How to answer the full truth was too complicated for this fragile moment. But a lie was wrong. Not anymore, he finally replied, his voice hoarse. Maria tilted her head, considering. What happened to them? Adam took a deep breath. She left a long time ago. Did she die like my mom? No. Adam answered, feeling the weight of the truth. She left because of me. Maria looked at him with an unnerving intensity. Did you two have a fight? Yes, he admitted. I wanted her to be someone she didn't want to be. She nodded as if the answer made perfect sense to her. My mom used to say, people have to be themselves, not what others want them to be. Adam almost smiled at the irony. That was exactly the kind of thing Rachel would say. Your mom was very wise. I miss her, Maria said, simply turning back to her rag doll, adjusting its old dress. I know, Adam replied, even though he didn't truly know how she felt. He had chosen to lose Rachel. Maria had had no choice. They sat in silence for a while, a silence that was less tense than before. Finally, Adam stood up. Dinner should be ready soon. Are you hungry? Maria nodded, beginning to carefully put her treasures back into the wooden box. This house is so big, she remarked as she closed the box. It's like a museum. Are you lonely? Another direct question hitting him right where it hurt. Adam rarely thought about it. Or maybe he thought about it all the time without admitting it. I'm used to it, he replied, echoing the words Maria had used earlier about being cold. She stood up, holding the box. Can I take my treasures to my room before dinner? Of course. I'll come with you. As they walked up the stairs together, Adam was keenly aware of how different their footsteps sounded. His heavy, steady steps contrasted with her light and quick ones. The footsteps of an adult. The footsteps of a child, sounds he never expected to hear in his house. In the bedroom, Maria placed the box carefully on the dresser and looked around. Can I bring my doll down for dinner? She asked hesitantly. Cece doesn't like to be alone. Adam blinked, surprised by the question. Of course, he replied, feeling awkward. Cece is welcome at the table. Maria smiled again, a little wider this time, and picked up the doll. Together they went down to the dining room where Martha had prepared a mac and cheese dish, something Adam hadn't eaten in decades. The dining table, a massive glass and metal structure designed for 12, looked ridiculously large for just one man and one small girl with her rag doll. Can we eat in the kitchen? Maria asked, looking anxiously at the formal dining table. Adam hesitated. He always ate in the dining room when he was home. It was the rule. It was what was expected. But suddenly it seemed absurd. Why not? He agreed, surprising himself. The kitchen is this way. The kitchen, while large and professionally equipped, was at least warmer than the dining room. It had a small breakfast nook where Martha had placed 2 steaming bowls of mac and cheese and a basket of bread. They sat opposite each other. Cece was placed on her own chair, propped up against the table. Adam watched Maria carefully taste the mac and cheese. "Is it good?" he asked. She nodded. "My mom made it differently, but this is good too." Adam realized he had never asked Rachel how she cooked. He had never been interested in such mundane details of his daughter's life. And now all those details, how she made mac and cheese, the books she read to her daughter, how she decorated her apartment, were forever lost. "What was your house like?" he asked, trying to picture the life Rachel had built. "Small," Maria replied between bites, "but full of color. Mom painted all the walls different colors. My room was light green like spring leaves. The living room was yellow. The kitchen was blue." Adam tried to imagine Rachel, paintbrush in hand, transforming a simple apartment into a vibrant home for her daughter. The image tightened his chest. "Your mom must have been a wonderful parent." "The best," Maria agreed emphatically. Then after a moment of silence, she continued, "You don't have pictures in your house?" Adam paused his fork halfway to his mouth. "No, I don't." "Why not?" He didn't have a simple answer. How could he explain that the photos were too painful, that every image from happy times was a reminder of his failure? "I never really thought about it." He lied. Maria didn't look like she believed him, but she didn't ask further. Instead, she pointed to a framed painting on the kitchen wall, the only piece of art in the entire space. It was a simple, still life of fruit in a bowl. "Do you like paintings?" Adam looked at the painting as if he were seeing it for the first time. "My wife chose it a long time ago." "My grandma." The question caught him off guard. "Yes," he replied, realizing it was a natural thing for her to ask. "Your grandma. Where is she now?" "She passed away many years ago." Maria nodded, accepting the information with the straightforward acceptance that children often show. "So you've been living alone for a very long time." It wasn't exactly a question, but Adam felt the need to answer. "Yes. Isn't that sad?" The question, so simple and so devastating, left Adam speechless for a moment. Sad, was it awful? Or was it just normal? He had become so accustomed to his solitude that he rarely questioned it anymore. "Sometimes," he finally admitted, "but work keeps me busy." Maria considered this as she finished her mac and cheese. "Mom said, work is important, but people are more important." It was as if Rachel were there speaking through her daughter, offering all the lessons he hadn't learned in time. "Your mom was right," he said quietly. "It took me a long time to realize that." They finished their meal in thoughtful silence. Adam realized this was the most meaningful dinner he had had in years, not because of a gourmet meal or an expensive bottle of wine, but because of the simple presence of another person, one who asked the questions he had long avoided. "It's getting late," he said, noticing Maria trying to hide a yawn. "You must be tired after everything that happened today." She nodded suddenly, looking so small and fragile. "Can I go to bed now?" "Of course. I'll take you to your room." They walked up the stairs again, and Adam waited while Maria used the bathroom and changed her clothes. When she came out, she was wearing a simple star-printed pajama set that looked a little too small for her. "Ready for bed?" he asked awkwardly. Maria climbed into the oversized bed, clutching Cece. Yes. Adam tucked her in an act he never imagined he would do again. If you need anything during the night, my room is at the end of the hall on the left. She nodded, her eyes already heavy. Good night, she whispered. Good night, Maria. Adam replied, heading for the door. He was about to leave when her tiny voice called him back. Can you leave the door open a little and the hallway light on? Such a small request, yet it revealed so much about her fear. Of course, Adam said, leaving a crack in the door and ensuring the soft light from the hallway spilled in. Is that okay? Yes, Maria replied, half asleep. Thank you. Adam stood in the hallway for a long time, watching her sleep in a bed that was too big. In a room that was too big, in a house that was too big, a house that was never designed to hold the life and direct questions of a child. His instinct was to retreat to his office, pour another glass of whiskey, and bury himself in work until he forgot about the emotional whirlwind of the day. But instead, he walked toward his own bedroom. He stopped in front of Rachel's old room at the end of the hall, a space that hadn't been touched in 8 years, like a shrine to a past he couldn't face or let go of. Tomorrow, he decided he would start thinking about the next steps. What to do about her schooling, about legal custody, about Maria's future, and maybe his own as well. For now, all he knew was that he had given his granddaughter a roof over her head. Not yet a home, just a roof. But perhaps with time and a courage he wasn't sure he possessed, it could become more than that. Chapter 3: Breaking the Cold Wall. 3 days. Only 3 days after Maria arrived, Adam Johnson no longer recognized his own home. The changes weren't dramatic, but they were small, subtle details weaving their way into every corner of the once perfect, soulless mansion. A colorful mug with a unicorn print sat on the kitchen counter. A small sock was left forgotten under the coffee table. A children's book lay open on the living room sofa. Adam stood in front of the sofa looking at the book. It was The Little Prince, Rachel's favorite. He picked it up carefully, as if it were a fragile relic, and sat down. The pages were marked with small pieces of paper where Maria had drawn her own stars and planets. An unconscious smile appeared on Adam's lips. How could such a small child occupy so much space? Martha, he called when he saw the housekeeper pass by, a laundry basket in her hand. Yes, sir. Martha smiled, a smile Adam rarely saw before. The items I ordered, have they arrived? They just finished the delivery, sir. I put everything in her room as you requested. Adam nodded, satisfied. He had ordered a few things for Maria, clothes of course, but also books, art supplies, and a star projector lamp that could cast constellations onto the ceiling. Just small gestures to make her more comfortable, he told himself. Just temporary until he decided on a long-term plan. Is she upstairs? Yes, sir. She was coloring at your desk, but I think she went upstairs when the packages arrived. Adam frowned. My office? Martha looked confused. I apologize, sir. She said you gave her permission. I can tell her not to. No, it's fine, Adam interrupted. It's fine, I was just a little surprised. Indeed, he was very surprised. His office was his sanctuary, the only private space in the house. Even Martha didn't enter without permission. He walked up the stairs, curious. Maria's room door was ajar, and he could hear her soft voice. Who is she talking to? He approached quietly. And then we'll draw some more stars right here, Maria was saying, seemingly to her rag doll, Cece, who was sitting on the bed next to some opened boxes. Mom used to draw stars on my ceiling. You know, she said. That way we could look at the constellations even when it was raining. Adam felt a pang in his chest. The small details of Rachel's life kept appearing in Maria's stories, precious fragments of a life he had never known. "Did you like the things that arrived?" Maria turned around, not startled at all. A radiant smile brightened her face, so genuine that Adam felt something melt inside him. "Were all of these for me?" "Yes," he said, stepping into the room. "I thought you might want some new things so you could feel more at home." Maria jumped off the bed, and before Adam could prepare himself, she threw her arms around his waist in a sudden tight hug. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Adam stood still for a moment, then awkwardly placed his hands on her back. The feeling was strange, unfamiliar. When was the last time someone had hugged him like this, with such innocence and openness he couldn't remember? "Look, there's a star lamp!" Maria exclaimed, letting go of him and picking up a box. "It's just like the one Mom made for me." Adam smiled, feeling a strange satisfaction that he had chosen correctly. "We can put it up tonight if you want." "Now," Maria insisted, her eyes sparkling. "Can we do it now?" And surprisingly, Adam found himself unable to refuse. "All right, we'll need some tools." Half an hour later, Adam Johnson, the CEO of Johnson Enterprises, was standing on a step stool in his granddaughter's room assembling a children's constellation lamp, while Maria gave him precise instructions on its placement. "A little more to the left, so it's right over the bed like this." "Perfect." When he was done, Adam stepped down and sat on the edge of the bed with Maria. She held the lamp's remote excitedly. "Let's turn off the lights to see it." Adam got up and pulled the curtains closed, then turned off the light. The room plunged into darkness for a second before Maria turned on the lamp. Suddenly, the ceiling and walls were covered with thousands of tiny blue lights, recreating the major constellations of the night sky. The soft light illuminated Maria's face in awe, and Adam felt something he hadn't felt in years, a sense of pure wonder. "It's just like the one Mom made," Maria whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "She painted glow-in-the-dark stars." "I'm sure hers were more beautiful," Adam said softly, "because she made them with her own hands." Maria nodded, then unexpectedly rested her head against Adam's arm. A simple, natural gesture, but it was so powerful that Adam felt his throat tighten. "I miss her," Maria said quietly, still staring at the stars. "Sometimes I think she's watching over me like she's in one of those stars looking out for me." Adam swallowed, unsure of what to say. He had never been good with words in emotional moments. It was why he had lost Rachel. He hadn't known how to say the things that truly mattered. "That's a nice thought," he finally said. "She would be so proud of you." They sat there for a few minutes in silence, looking at the artificial constellations. It was a fragile but real moment, just like the small changes Maria had brought to the house and to Adam. In recent weeks, Adam's only concerns had been acquisitions, profits, and losses. Now suddenly, he worried about whether Maria was eating enough, if she needed more clothes, if she would like to paint like Rachel. The day before, he had called his lawyer to discuss the possibility of legal guardianship. It was a decision he had never imagined making, but now it had become inevitable. The thought of Maria entering the foster care system or living with some distant relative Rachel had never mentioned was simply unacceptable. "What are we going to do tomorrow?" Maria asked, interrupting his thoughts. "Tomorrow," Adam repeated, taken by surprise. "I have to go to work, but Martha will be here." "Do you work every day?" The question was innocent, but full of meaning. Adam felt confused. "Well, yes, usually. The company needs me." Maria frowned. "My mom worked a lot too, but we always had Sundays. It was our special day." We'd make pancakes and go to the park. Adam didn't answer right away. Sunday had always been just another workday for him. He hadn't done anything like making pancakes in the park since. Rachel was a child, and even then those moments were rare. "We can do that if you want," he was surprised to hear himself say. "This Sunday." The radiant smile on Maria's face was worth more than any contract he could sign that day. "With chocolate syrup?" Adam laughed. It was a strange, almost rusty sound. He couldn't remember the last time he had laughed so genuinely. "With chocolate syrup," he agreed. When he left Maria's room later, leaving her to sleep under the artificial stars, Adam felt different, lighter, in a way as if the small presences Maria had scattered throughout the house, a cup here, a book there, a sudden hug, were not just filling the physical space but also the emptiness inside him. It was terrifying. It was inconvenient. It was a disruption of his carefully constructed routine. And yet, as he walked to his bedroom, he realized that for the first time in years, he didn't feel the need for a nightcap. He no longer felt that perpetual restlessness, that persistent sense that something was always missing. The small presences, the small changes were perhaps the beginning of a larger transformation he wasn't yet ready to admit. It was nearly 2 a.m. when Adam gave up on trying to sleep. Something about the house, perhaps the slight creak of the floorboards in the hallway, or the distant hum of the heating system, felt different now, as if Maria's presence had changed even the familiar nighttime sounds. He got up and put on his robe, feeling the cold marble floor under his bare feet. He opened his bedroom door carefully and looked into the hallway. The nightlight he had installed for Maria cast a soft glow on the wall opposite her door. Adam approached quietly and looked through the small gap. She was fast asleep. Cece was clutched tightly to her chest, her hair spread out on the pillow like golden threads. Her face held a peacefulness that only sleeping children have, a total trust in the world around them, a belief that they are safe. A lump rose in Adam's throat. She trusted him. She trusted that he would keep her safe, that he would be stable and reliable, that he wouldn't fail her as he had failed Rachel. He returned to his room, but sleep had vanished. He sat in his armchair by the window, staring at the distant city lights, while his mind raced with old and new fears. What if he let Maria down, just as he had let Rachel down? What if his obsession with work, his difficulty expressing emotions, his tendency to control rather than understand, eventually drove Maria away too? What if he didn't know how to be the grandfather she deserved? Adam remembered his mistakes with Rachel. How he had dismissed her artistic aspirations as a teenage phase that would pass. How he had tried to force her into the mold he had created for her without regard for her dreams or talent. How he had responded with ultimatums when she resisted. How his pride had prevented him from seeking reconciliation after she left. 8 years lost. 8 years that could have been filled with conversations, a gradual understanding growing together. 8 years he would never get back. And now there was Maria. A second chance he knew he didn't deserve, but one he refused to waste. Still, the fear gripped him. The fear of repeating old mistakes. The fear that his controlling instincts would surface at the worst possible moment. The fear that his old self, the Adam Johnson obsessed with results, achievements, and power, would sabotage the new man he was trying to become. Through the window, he saw the first light of dawn painting the horizon pink. In a few hours, Maria would wake up. She would come downstairs, clutching Cece, her hair messy, her eyes still sleepy, but ready to ask questions he couldn't answer. She would look at him with those eyes, Rachel's eyes, Elizabeth's eyes, filled with unwavering trust. And he would try, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the voice inside that whispered it was too late to change, that some habits were too deeply ingrained to break. Adam had never been a gambler. He liked certainties, controllable variables, calculated risks. But Maria was not an equation to be solved or a company to be acquired. She was a child, his granddaughter, the only living link to Rachel, an unexpected gift that arrived on a rainy afternoon. In the growing light of dawn, Adam made a silent promise to himself, to Rachel, and above all, to Maria. He didn't know exactly how to be the grandfather she needed, but he would learn day by day, mistake by mistake, effort by effort, because he finally understood what he hadn't understood before. True love wasn't about possessing, controlling, or shaping. It was about accompanying, supporting, and growing together. It was about having the courage to be imperfect, to try even when afraid to risk his heart, knowing it could be broken. It was the most terrifying risk he had ever faced, and also the most important. Sunday arrived with a brilliant freshness that seemed to match Maria's mood. Ever since Adam promised a day of pancakes in the park, she had been counting down the hours, constantly reminding him to make sure he didn't forget. "You remember, today is our special day, right?" she asked as soon as she found him in the kitchen. Still in her star-printed pajamas, Cece held tightly in one hand. Adam, who had been up for hours, had been fighting an internal battle over whether to spend just a few hours in the office, smiled at her. The framed photo of Rachel from her graduation, now on his desk, seemed to be watching him as he considered breaking his promise. In the end, he couldn't. "Of course I remember," he replied. "Pancakes in the park, right?" Maria's smile lit up the entire kitchen. "With chocolate syrup." "With chocolate syrup," Adam repeated, feeling a strange satisfaction at her pure happiness. They made the pancake batter together. Adam hadn't cooked in years, maybe decades, but he found he still remembered the recipe that Elizabeth, his wife, used to make when Rachel was a child. Maria insisted on helping, though her help mostly consisted of endless questions and occasional spills of flour all over the counter. "Did my mom make pancakes for you?" she asked, as she watched Adam expertly flip one in the air, much to her delight. "Yes," Adam replied, surprised by how easily the memory returned. "My mom made the best Sunday breakfasts." "My mom did too," Maria exclaimed excitedly. "She said Sunday breakfasts were magic because we could eat sugar without worrying." Adam laughed, a sound that was becoming less and less strange over time. "She always had a sweet tooth even as a child." Maria looked at him with sudden curiosity. "You knew my mom when she was a little girl?" The question hung in the air like the aroma of pancakes. Adam felt his heart race. The moment had arrived, a moment he knew he would have to face but wasn't ready for. "Yes," he replied simply. "I did." "How?" Adam flipped the last pancake, buying himself time. "Let's eat first. Then I have something I want to show you." Maria reluctantly agreed, though her curious eyes remained fixed on him as they ate the pancakes drenched in a generous amount of chocolate syrup. After breakfast, Adam led Maria to his office. She walked in carefully, as she always did in his sanctuary. But this time he didn't lead her to his desk, but to a bookshelf along the side wall. "You asked how I knew your mom when she was a little girl." Adam began pulling a large leather-bound album from a shelf. This album might answer that question. They sat on the leather sofa together, and Adam opened the album on both their laps. The first page was a wedding photo, Adam and Elizabeth young, and full of hope, smiling at the camera. "This is your grandmother, Elizabeth," Adam explained, pointing to the radiant blonde woman beside him. "She passed away when your mom was very little." Maria looked at the photo carefully. "She's so beautiful. She looks like my mom." "Yes," Adam agreed, feeling a familiar lump in his throat. Your mom inherited Elizabeth's looks and her artistic talent, too. He turned the page, revealing a series of baby photos. A newborn Rachel wrapped in a pink blanket, then in Elizabeth's arms, then in Adam's own arms. "That's you," Maria remarked, pointing to a photo of Adam awkwardly holding the baby. "Who is the baby?" Adam took a deep breath. "That's your mom, Rachel, when she was just born." Maria looked from the photo to Adam, confused. Then slowly understanding began to dawn in her eyes. "My mom. But how?" Adam continued to turn the pages, showing how Rachel grew up, her first attempts at walking birthday parties, days at the beach, her first bicycle. "Rachel was my daughter, Maria." Adam finally said, his voice betraying the emotion he was trying to control. "Your mom was my daughter." Maria was still. Her blue eyes, Rachel's eyes, Elizabeth's eyes, looked at Adam with an unnerving intensity. "You're my grandpa," she finally asked, her voice small and uncertain. The world seemed to pause for a moment. Grandpa. It was a title Adam had never prepared for. It sounded strange, terrifying, but at the same time it felt perfectly right. "Yes," he whispered. "I'm your grandpa." Maria continued to stare at him, processing the information. Adam waited tense for her reaction. Anger, confusion, sadness. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she finally asked. It was a fair question. Adam looked away, unable to face her innocent gaze. "Because—" he hesitated, searching for an answer a child could understand. "Because it's complicated. Your mom and we were estranged for a very long time. You had a fight." Maria stated, not a question. Adam nodded. "Yes. After that, we never spoke again. I didn't even know—" His voice broke. "I didn't know you existed, Maria, until you found me in the rain that day." Maria frowned, taking it all in. "Mom never talked about you. She just said I should find the man in the picture if something ever happened to her." Adam felt the weight of those words. Rachel had never mentioned him to her daughter. She had erased his existence just as he had tried to erase hers for a long time. "I'm sorry for that," he finally said. "I'm sorry I wasn't there." Maria looked back at the album, at the photos that documented a family history she had never known. "Why did you fight with Mom?" The direct question, so typical of Maria, caught Adam off guard. How could he explain years of stubbornness, unmet expectations, and failed communication to a child? "Your mom wanted to be an artist," he began hesitantly. "She wanted to paint and create. I wanted her to work for the company with me. Neither of us could understand the other." Maria nodded slowly. "Mom was the best painter in the world," she said with conviction. "People cried when they saw her paintings. They were so beautiful." Adam felt a pang of deep regret. He had never seen Rachel's adult work. He had never witnessed her talent blossom. "I'm sure they were," he replied softly. Maria continued to turn through the album, absorbing each image of her mother. Occasionally, she would point to a photo and ask a question. "What was Mom's favorite color as a child, or did she ever have a dog?" Adam answered as best he could, surprised at how easily the memories returned. It was as if by sharing them with Maria, he was bringing Rachel back to life between them. When they reached the end of the album, the last photos showing Rachel as a teenager, before the rift, Maria carefully closed it. "Are there no more pictures?" she asked. Adam shook his head. "Not in this album." But he hesitated, then made a decision. "There's one place you might want to see." He stood up and offered his hand. Maria took it without hesitation. Adam led her down the upstairs hallway until they stopped in front of a door that had been closed for 8 years. He took a deep breath and turned the doorknob. Rachel's room was exactly as it had been the night she left home. The bed still had the turquoise comforter she had chosen herself. The walls were painted a light lavender. Her desk still held a stack of art books. The shelves were filled with mementos from her childhood and adolescence. Trophies from school competitions, collections of seashells, small clay sculptures she had made. And the walls, they were covered with Rachel's drawings and paintings. From her first childish scribbles to more sophisticated teenage works. "This was your mom's room," Adam explained as Maria stepped in slowly, her eyes wide with a look of wonder at every detail. "I left it exactly as it was." Maria moved as if she were in a museum, gently touching objects, studying the paintings on the walls. She stopped at one particular painting, a seascape with a vibrant sunset that Rachel had painted at 16. "Mom always loved to paint the ocean," Maria said softly. "Even when we didn't have money to travel, she said she could smell the salty water when she painted." Adam felt a surge of guilt. While he lived in his mansion, Rachel and Maria had struggled financially. While he accumulated wealth, his daughter couldn't even afford to take her own daughter to the sea. "She always had talent," he said, standing beside Maria in front of the painting, "even when she was very young." "Can I see more?" Maria asked, pointing to a stack of sketchbooks on a high shelf. "Of course." Adam took them down and placed them on the bed. They sat side by side and Maria began to turn the pages reverently. They were Rachel's visual diaries, a record of her artistic growth from childhood to her late teens. "Look!" Maria suddenly exclaimed, pointing to a sketch of a woman holding a baby. The date in the corner indicated it was drawn about 9 years ago. "That's me and Mom." Adam looked closer. Indeed, it was a self-portrait of Rachel holding a newborn baby. Rachel's face was radiant with the pure joy of motherhood, a joy Adam had never seen in his daughter before. "You were a beautiful baby," he remarked, feeling a deep sadness as he thought about all the moments he had missed the birth of his granddaughter, her first steps, her first words. Maria spent nearly an hour exploring the sketchbooks, asking questions now and then, but mostly just immersing herself in this new connection to her mother. Adam was there beside her, sharing memories when he could, and learning with her as the images came from a period of Rachel's life he had been absent from. Finally, when the last sketchbook was closed, Maria looked around the room again, her eyes sparkling with a new understanding. "My mom grew up here," she said as if testing the idea. "In this house, in this room." "Yes," Adam confirmed. "From the day she was born until she left." Maria was silent for a moment, then looked at Adam with that familiar, intense gaze. "Can I have this room?" she asked, instead of the guest room. The question took Adam by surprise. Rachel's room had been untouched for so long, like a shrine, a memorial to his failure as a father. The thought of changing it, of allowing life back in, had never crossed his mind. But looking at Maria now, a small piece of Rachel, the continuation of their bloodline, Adam realized there was no better way to honor his daughter's memory than to let her daughter find comfort and a home in the space that had once been hers. "Is that what you want?" he asked. Maria nodded emphatically. "It'll be like having a part of Mom with me, like she's hugging me." Adam felt tears well up, but he held them back. "Then this is your room now. Can I keep the paintings?" Maria asked anxiously. "And the books and everything." "You can keep anything you like," Adam assured her. "And we can change whatever you want too. Make it your own in your own way." Maria considered this. I want to keep the paintings and the wall color. Mom chose it right. Adam nodded. Yes, it was her favorite color then. Then I want to keep it. Maria looked around once more. But maybe we can bring my star lamp in, and Cece needs a special spot. Adam smiled. We can do that. And anything else you want. For the first time since he met her, Maria hugged Adam spontaneously, her arms wrapping around his neck, with all the strength her small arms could muster. Thank you, Grandpa, she whispered into his neck. Grandpa. The word still sounded strange, but it now carried a new emotion, not of fear or awkwardness, but of reverence. A title he didn't deserve, but one he was determined to honor. You're welcome, Maria, he replied, allowing himself to truly hug her back for the first time. When they separated, Maria was already planning the room's rearrangement. The bed can go here, and the lamp there, and Cece can have a special shelf for her and her friends when they come to visit. Adam watched amazed at how easily life returned to a space that had been frozen in time for so long. Rachel's room, now Maria's room, would no longer be a locked shrine to painful memories, but a living, breathing space exactly as it should be. What's wrong? Maria asked, noticing his distant expression. Adam smiled. I was just thinking your mom would be very happy to know you're here in this room in this house. You think so? Maria asked, suddenly serious. Adam thought about the final words in Rachel's letter stored in his desk drawer. I hope one day you can love me for who I am, not for the person you want me to be. I'm sure of it, he replied confidently. She sent you here. She knew that despite everything, this would be your home. Maria smiled, satisfied with his answer. Then can we bring my things in today and then go to the park like you promised? Sounds like a perfect plan. Adam agreed, offering her his hand. Together they left the room, no longer a tomb for sad memories, but the beginning of something new. A space where past and present converged, where Rachel's legacy lived on through her daughter. At last, a home once more. Adam Johnson's life had been completely transformed in just a few weeks. The alarm clock, which used to wake him at 5 a.m. to check emails and reports, now marked a new commitment: breakfast with Maria at 7:30. You can't just drink coffee, she declared one morning, looking at Adam's solitary cup. Mom said, brains need real food. And just like that, Adam's first meeting of the day was no longer with his executive team, but with a small girl in pajamas who had very strong opinions about nutrition. Do you have any important meetings today? She asked, chewing on toast. 2, actually. About what? About acquiring other companies, he answered simply. Maria took a sip of her juice and asked, Do you like your job? The question caught him off guard. Do I like it? It had been too long since he had asked himself that. It's challenging, he replied, and it's important. More important than people. Adam almost choked on his coffee. Maria's questions were always like that, too direct. Where did you get that idea? You said Mom left because you fought about work, so I thought maybe you thought work was more important than people. I used to think that, he admitted. But I'm learning that I was wrong. The smile Maria gave him then was worth more than any $1 million deal. Adam's evenings had changed too. Where there were once solitary reports and whiskey glasses, there were now bedtime stories. It began the first night after Maria moved into Rachel's old room. Can you tell me a story? Maria asked. Mom always used to tell me one. And so, sitting on the edge of his daughter's old bed, Adam began to share little snippets of Rachel's childhood, Her first bicycle ride without training wheels, the time she lost a baby tooth in an apple at lunch, a scary night in the treehouse. Each night, a new story, a new memory retrieved. By the third week, Adam had adjusted his schedule to be home by 7 p.m. Post-work calls could wait. Urgent emails were only answered after Maria was asleep. His secretary, Diane, noticed the change immediately. "Is everything all right, Mr. Johnson?" she asked when he canceled a third consecutive evening meeting. "Couldn't be better," he replied, surprising them both. Weekends also took on a new purpose. On Saturday, they went to the zoo. Adam hadn't been since Rachel was 10, and now he rediscovered it through Maria's amazed eyes. "Did you know giraffes have the same number of neck vertebrae as we do?" she announced with a serious expression. "Theirs are just much bigger." "I didn't know that." "Where did you learn that?" "In the book Mom gave me. I know a lot of things about animals." And indeed she did. Throughout the trip, Maria shared astonishing facts about every creature they saw. Adam found himself absorbing information about pandas and tortoises with the same interest he once reserved for financial reports. Sunday brought an impromptu art lesson. Maria found Rachel's old art supplies and asked for permission to use them. "Do you want to teach me how to paint?" Adam asked half-jokingly. To his surprise, Maria's response was serious. "I can try. Mom taught me a few things." And so the esteemed CEO spent an entire afternoon sitting on the floor, learning how to mix colors under the patient guidance of an 8-year-old. "You're holding the brush too tightly," Maria observed. "Mom said, you have to hold it like a little bird. Just tight enough so it doesn't fly away, but gentle enough not to hurt it." Adam loosened his grip, reflecting on how in his life he had too often held on to everything. Relationships' expectations far too tightly. His final painting, a fuzzy blob of colors resembling a landscape, was not a masterpiece. But Maria's look of approval filled him with pride. "Not bad for a first try," she said generously. "Mom said everyone has to start somewhere. Your mom was very wise." "Yes," Maria agreed. "She was the smartest person in the world. After me, of course." The statement was delivered with such seriousness that Adam was caught off guard. A peal of laughter escaped him. It wasn't the polite, controlled laugh he used at social events, but a genuine, spontaneous laugh from a place that had long been dormant. Maria looked at him in surprise, then joined in. "You look different when you laugh," she remarked afterward. "Younger." Adam didn't know what to say. When was the last time he had laughed like that? That Monday he received an invitation to Maria's school for Grandparents' Day. He looked at his calendar. He had a crucial meeting with Japanese investors scheduled months ago. "I'll be there," he replied without a moment's hesitation. That evening, Maria greeted him at the door, practically bouncing with excitement. "Did my teacher call? Can you go?" "Yes, I'm going. I'm going to make a special picture," she announced. "And you'll tell everyone that my grandpa is the best grandpa in the world, even if he draws badly." Adam laughed again, more easily this time. As they prepared dinner together, he realized he was learning how to be a grandfather. Not just fulfilling a duty, but truly learning to be present, to listen, to care about the small things. He was finally learning what he hadn't learned in time with Rachel. That life wasn't just about big achievements, but about the small, daily connections, shared meals, bedtime stories, spontaneous laughter. He was finally learning how to be a family. Adam woke up with a muffled cry, his heart pounding. He looked around, disoriented, as the images of the nightmare still danced before his eyes. In the darkness of the room, the feeling of loss was almost tangible, a physical weight on his chest. In the dream, Maria had vanished. The house was empty without any trace of her presence. No drawing on the refrigerator, No children's book on the sofa, no laughter in the hallways. He searched for her with growing desperation, calling her name until his voice was hoarse. Then suddenly in the dream, he was back on that rainy afternoon, standing in front of his building. But this time, no little girl was waiting. Only Rachel's torn photo on the wet sidewalk, its colors dissolving in the rain. It was as if Maria had never existed, as if the second chance had been just a temporary illusion. Adam turned on his bedside lamp and looked at the clock. 3:20 a.m. His whole body trembled, drenched in cold sweat. He tried to take deep breaths, but the pain of the nightmare clung to him like a shadow. Before he knew what he was doing, he got up and walked down the dark hallway toward Maria's room. He had to see her to confirm that she was still there, that she hadn't vanished like in his dream. The door was slightly ajar, just as she always requested. Adam peered inside quietly, holding his breath. She was there, sleeping peacefully, in the soft light of the star lamp. Cece was clutched tightly to her chest, her hair fanned out on the pillow like golden threads. Her face had that unique serenity of sleeping children, a total trust in the world around them, a belief that they are safe. A lump rose in Adam's throat. She trusted him. She trusted that he would keep her safe, that he would be stable and reliable, that he wouldn't fail her as he had failed Rachel. He returned to his room, but sleep was gone. He sat in his armchair by the window, staring at the distant city lights, while his mind raced with old and new fears. What if he let Maria down, just as he had let Rachel down? What if his obsession with work, his difficulty expressing affection, his tendency to control rather than understand, eventually drove Maria away too? What if he didn't know how to be the grandfather she deserved, Adam? Remembered his mistakes with Rachel, how he had dismissed her artistic aspirations as a teenage phase that would pass, how he had tried to force her into the mold he had created for her without caring about her dreams or talent, how he had reacted with ultimatums when she resisted, how his pride had prevented him from seeking reconciliation after she left. 8 years lost. 8 years that could have been filled with conversations, a gradual understanding, growing together. 8 years he would never get back. And now there was Maria, a second chance he knew he didn't deserve, but one he refused to waste. Yet the fear gripped him, the fear of repeating old mistakes, the fear that his controlling instincts would surface at the worst possible moment. The fear that his old self, the Adam Johnson obsessed with results, achievements, and power, would sabotage the new man he was trying to become. Through the window, he saw the first light of dawn painting the horizon pink. In a few hours, Maria would wake up. She would come downstairs, clutching Cece, her hair messy, her eyes still sleepy, but ready to ask questions he couldn't answer. She would look at him with those eyes, Rachel's eyes, Elizabeth's eyes, filled with unwavering trust. And he would try, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the voice inside that whispered it was too late to change, that some habits were too deeply ingrained to break. Adam had never been a gambler. He liked certainties, controllable variables, calculated risks. But Maria was not an equation to be solved, or a company to be acquired. She was a child, his granddaughter, the only living link to Rachel, an unexpected gift that arrived on a rainy afternoon. In the growing light of dawn, Adam made a silent promise to himself, to Rachel, and above all, to Maria. He didn't know exactly how to be the grandfather she needed, but he would learn day by day, mistake by mistake, effort by effort, because he had finally understood what he hadn't before. True love isn't about possessing, controlling, or shaping. It's about accompanying, supporting, and growing together. It's about having the courage to be imperfect, to try even when afraid to risk his heart, knowing it could be broken. It was the most terrifying risk he had ever faced and also the most important. Saturday arrived with a perfectly clear sky and mild weather, a day that seemed made for the outdoors. Adam stood at the kitchen window while Maria ate her breakfast. A waffle with strawberries and honey that Martha had prepared especially for her. "So, what do you want to do today?" he asked, even though he already knew the answer. Maria had been talking about Central Park all week, ever since a classmate mentioned the little rental boats on the lake. "Can we go to the park?" Maria asked exactly as he predicted, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "And go on the little boat too, please." "I think we can arrange that," Adam said with mock seriousness, as if considering a complex business proposal. Maria saw through the joke and grinned. Adam was still amazed by how easily she smiled, despite all she had lost, all the upheaval in her young life. Rachel had raised a resilient daughter. Half an hour later, they were in the car on their way to the park. Maria looked out the window, pointing at every interesting thing she saw. A particularly large dog on a walk. A storefront window filled with colorful toys. A man playing the saxophone on the sidewalk. "Mr. Abernathy, my music teacher said we're going to learn about the saxophone next month," she said. "Do you like music class?" Adam asked, realizing he knew very little about Maria's daily school routine, even though he had been taking care of her for almost 2 months. "It's fun, but I like art class more. Ms. Collins says I have a talent," she replied with a mix of pride and shyness. Adam smiled. "Just like your mom." "That's what Ms. Collins said too. I told her my mom was an artist." A wave of gratitude washed over Adam. Maria's art teacher, a woman he had never met, had recognized and nurtured the connection between mother and daughter. It was more than he had done when Rachel was alive. "Your mom started painting when she was very young," he said. "When she was your age, she painted on everything, the margins of books, napkins, even the walls of the house." "I never draw on the walls," Maria stated indignantly, as if the idea was ridiculous. Adam laughed. "She thought it was a good idea at the time." "Were you mad?" The question was soft, almost timid. Adam felt a contraction in his chest as he remembered. Yes, he had been mad. Furious, in fact. He had yelled at Rachel and banned her from using crayons for a whole month. A harsh punishment for a 6-year-old expressing creativity in the only way she knew how. "Yeah," he admitted. "More than was necessary." The car stopped at a red light, and Adam glanced at Maria. She was looking at him with a gaze that was far beyond her years, as if she were considering not only what he said, but also what he didn't say. "Everybody makes mistakes," she said finally. "Mom said the important thing is to learn from them." The light turned green, and Adam focused on driving, trying to swallow the lump in his throat. Where did such great wisdom come from in such a small person? When they arrived at Central Park, it was bustling with families enjoying the beautiful day. Children ran on the lawn, couples strolled hand in hand, groups of friends laid out blankets for picnics. Adam usually avoided crowds, but today, strangely, the park's vibrant energy felt invigorating rather than draining. "Can we go on the boat first?" Maria asked as soon as they got out of the car, practically jumping with excitement. "Don't you want to walk around a bit, see the park first?" "Boat first, then exploring," she bargained with the seriousness of an international diplomat. Adam conceded, as he had been doing more and more often. There was something so freeing about following a child's rhythm, letting her pure excitement lead the way instead of a rigid schedule. The lake was glittering with small rental boats, each one carrying smiling families or couples in love. A significant line had formed at the dock. "Looks like we're not the only ones with this idea," Adam remarked, bracing Maria for a potential wait. To his surprise, she wasn't discouraged. "We can watch the ducks while we wait. Look how many there are." And so they did. For 20 minutes, they stood there by the lake, watching the ducks glide gracefully on the water. Maria told imaginary stories about the duck families, which one was the mother, which one was the father, which ones were the mischievous ducklings. "That's the grandpa duck." She pointed to a particularly large and stately duck. "He's teaching the little ducks how to swim properly." Adam smiled at the obvious parallel but said nothing. He was learning that sometimes the best thing to do was just listen. When it was their turn, a friendly young man helped them into one of the blue boats. "First time?" he asked Adam, handing him a paddle. "Yes," Adam admitted, "at least with her." He nodded toward Maria, who had already made herself comfortable at the bow, looking at the water with fascination. "It's not complicated. Just keep a steady rhythm and try not to collide with the other boats," the man advised with a smile. "Have fun." Adam nodded and began to row. It was harder than he thought, especially for a man whose only forms of exercise in recent years had been a treadmill and the occasional golf game with clients. His arms protested the unfamiliar exertion. "We're going in a circle," Maria observed. After a few minutes laughing, Adam realized she was right. Despite his best efforts, the boat had almost completed a perfect circle, returning to its starting point. "Looks like I need practice," he admitted, feeling a strange unconcern with his clumsiness. The old Adam would have been furious with himself for not being able to master a skill instantly, even a trivial one like rowing a rental boat. This new Adam was learning to laugh at his mistakes. "Let me try," Maria asked, reaching for the paddle. "It's too big for you," Adam warned. But he let her hold a paddle with him anyway. Together they tried to establish a rhythm, an uneven but effective one. The boat began to move away from the shore, gliding on the sparkling water. "We're doing it!" Maria exclaimed, her face radiant with a pure joy that only children can feel. For half an hour, they glided on the lake, pointing at ducks and other boats, occasionally waving at strangers as if they were old friends. Adam couldn't remember the last time he had done something so simple and so satisfying. When they returned to the dock, Maria's cheeks were flushed from the sun, and effort, her eyes shining with excitement. "Can we have our picnic now?" she asked as they returned their life vests. "I'm so hungry." "Certainly," Adam agreed. He had asked Martha to prepare a basket with sandwiches, baked goods, fruit, and juice. They found a perfect spot under a large tree with a view of a lawn where children were playing frisbee. Adam spread out the blanket he had brought and began to take the food out of the basket. "Turkey and cheese sandwich for you," he said, handing Maria a carefully wrapped package along with apple juice. "Thank you," she replied automatically, already eagerly unwrapping the sandwich. They ate in a comfortable silence, watching the people around them. A group of teenagers was juggling nearby. An elderly couple walked slowly hand in hand. A mother read to 3 listening children. Glimpses of lives being lived, moments being made. "This is the best day ever," Maria suddenly announced, her mouth full of sandwich. "Really?" Adam asked, genuinely curious. She nodded emphatically. "Yes. The boat, the picnic, the park. All we need is ice cream to make it perfect." Adam smiled. "We can't let a day just be great when it can be perfect, right? We'll go get ice cream after we're done." Maria's face lit up like Christmas. She finished her sandwich in record time, waiting impatiently while Adam packed up the remaining picnic items. The nearest ice cream parlor was on the edge of the park, a small, colorful shop with a long line of customers. Again, they waited patiently, Maria still pointing out interesting sights. When it was finally their turn, she ordered strawberry ice cream with chocolate syrup and rainbow sprinkles. Adam chose vanilla ice cream, which earned him a look of disapproval from Maria. "Vanilla ice cream is boring," she declared as they walked back into the park with their cones. "You should try something different, Grandpa." Adam almost stumbled. It was the first time Maria had called him Grandpa, spontaneously, without hesitation or self-correction. And not just at home but in public, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She kept walking and licking her ice cream, completely unaware of the profound impact of those words. To her, it was just a casual remark about ice cream preferences. To Adam, it was a confirmation of something he hadn't even known he so deeply craved: belonging, connection, family. For the first time in decades, perhaps for the first time in his life, Adam felt that he truly belonged to someone. Not as a boss, not as a man of power, not as a respected businessman or a feared CEO, but simply as a grandpa. A title not earned through achievement or power, but given freely through love. "Your ice cream is melting," Maria said, pointing to Adam's ice cream dripping down the sides, while he stood there temporarily paralyzed by emotion. "Oh, right," he said, snapping back to reality and quickly licking the melting portion. "I was distracted. Thinking about work." She asked a question that had become common between them. "No," Adam replied honestly, "thinking about how this is a perfect day." Maria smiled, her face smeared with strawberry ice cream and pure happiness. "I told you." They walked side by side along the park's tree-lined paths, her small hand occasionally brushing against his, leaving sticky streaks that he didn't mind at all. Grandpa. A simple word, a massive change. That sunny afternoon in the park, amidst boat rides and ice cream, Adam Johnson finally understood what Rachel had tried to show him all these years. That life isn't measured in contracts signed or fortunes amassed. It's measured in moments like this, imperfect ice cream smeared and priceless. The hearing to obtain permanent guardianship was scheduled for the end of the month. Adam had spent the past few weeks working with lawyers to ensure the process went smoothly. There were no other relatives disputing Maria's custody, and all the social worker reports were incredibly positive. Despite this, Adam couldn't shake a sense of anxiety whenever he thought about it. What if something went wrong? What if, for some reason, the judge decided that a 60-year-old self-proclaimed workaholic wasn't the right person to raise a child? These thoughts haunted him that morning as he tried to focus on financial reports in his home office. It was a Sunday, but some habits were too ingrained, though he now limited his work-at-home hours to times when Maria was busy with something else. At that moment, she was playing in the yard with Lily, Martha's 13-year-old daughter, who occasionally came over on weekends and had become a big sister figure to Maria. Adam could hear them laughing and shouting outside, a sound that still surprised him every time it filtered through the mansion's once silent windows. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said, expecting Martha with the coffee he had requested. Instead, Maria appeared, her cheeks flushed from playing outside, a radiant smile on her face and a piece of paper in her hand. "Look what I made, Grandpa," she exclaimed, walking right up to his desk, with none of the hesitation from the first weeks. Adam smiled and pushed the reports aside, giving her his full attention. "Let me see your masterpiece." Maria proudly handed him the paper. It was a colorful drawing of the house, not the cold, gray mansion in real life, but the idealized version in Maria's eyes, bright blue with multicolored flowers in the garden, a rainbow in the sky, and 3 stick figures standing hand in front. A tiny one for Maria, a tall one for Adam, and one in the middle that Adam immediately recognized as Rachel, even in a child's drawing. "It's beautiful, Maria," Adam said with genuine admiration. "You have your mom's talent." "It's our family," she explained, pointing to the figures. "Me, you, and Mom. Mom's not really here, but she's watching over us like the stars." Adam felt the familiar lump in his throat. The way Maria spoke about Rachel with sadness, yes, but also a level of acceptance that many adults never achieve after a loss, never ceased to move him. "It's perfect," he managed to say. "Should we hang it on the refrigerator?" Maria shook her head. "No, this one is for your office. So when you're working and you need to remember that you have a family waiting." Adam looked at his granddaughter, speechless for a moment. How could an 8-year-old be so profound, so consciously thoughtful of another person? "That's exactly what I needed," he agreed, getting up to find some tape. Together they taped the drawing to the wall behind Adam's desk, right next to his framed Harvard diploma, which had stood alone until now. The contrast between them was almost comical, the formal cold-framed document and the colorful child's drawing radiating innocent joy. "Perfect," Maria declared, taking a step back to admire it. It was then that she tilted her head a little, a gesture Adam now recognized as a precursor to an unexpected observation or question. "You laugh differently now," she observed, studying his face with an almost unnerving concentration. "What do you mean?" Adam asked, genuinely curious. "Before," she explained, touching her own lips to illustrate, "when you laughed, it was only with your mouth. Now everything laughs. Your eyes, your cheeks, everything. It's a real laugh." Adam blinked, taken aback. He had never thought about it, but he realized she was right. For years, decades, perhaps his laugh had been a social tool, something calculated and controlled, a necessary concession in meetings and events, never a genuine expression of joy. "When did you get so observant?" he asked, stalling for time while he processed her words. Maria shrugged, a childlike gesture that seemed to say, "I've always been this way. You just weren't paying attention." Mom said, "We have to pay attention to people. Not just what they say, but how they say it. Their eyes, their smiles." She paused, thinking. "Why do you laugh differently now?" The question hung between them, simple but profound. Adam could have evaded it or given a generic answer, but over the last few months, he had learned that Maria deserved the truth, especially when it was hard to tell. "Because you taught me what's important," he finally said. Maria frowned slightly, processing his answer. "What's important?" Adam looked at the drawing on the wall, the bright blue house, the colorful flowers, the 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. The family that Maria saw, the family she had helped create from 2 broken lives. "That," he answered, pointing to the drawing. "Family, love, presence, all the things I had forgotten a long time ago." Maria seemed satisfied. "Mom would like your new laugh," she said decisively. "She always said real laughs were very contagious." She was right. Adam agreed, feeling the familiar mix of sadness and gratitude every time Rachel was mentioned. She always was. A comfortable silence fell. Outside, they could hear Lily calling Maria's name. "Can I go back outside to play?" Maria asked, already moving toward the door. "Of course, just remember we have that appointment later." Maria's face lit up as she remembered. "To get paint for my room." "Yes, at 2 p.m. I won't forget," she promised, running out the door, leaving a burst of energy in her wake. Adam sat back, but instead of returning to the financial reports, he swiveled his chair to face the garden. From there, he could see Maria and Lily running on the lawn, immersed in an intricate game with dramatic gestures and laughter. The garden, like the whole house, was different now. Not just because of Adam's detailed plans for a playground with a swing set and a slide that would soon be installed, but because of the simple presence of life. The space, once perfectly manicured by landscapers to impress occasional guests, now had a purpose. It had laughter. Inside the house, the changes were even more apparent. Maria's room, once Rachel's, was now truly alive. The walls were still the original lavender color, but now they were filled with drawings, animal posters, and Rachel's original paintings, alongside Maria's first attempts at following her mother's artistic path. The bed was a jumble of colorful pillows and stuffed animals that had joined Cece in recent weeks. New shelves held a growing collection of children's books. On the ceiling, in addition to the star lamp, Adam had hired an artist to paint a solar system mural after Maria's sudden fascination with astronomy. But it wasn't just Maria's room that had changed. The entire house seemed to have woken up from a long sleep. Books lay in the living room, toys were occasionally forgotten under a table, children's drawings were taped to the refrigerator, and there was even a fish tank with 2 goldfish named Bubbles and Sparkle in the TV room, the result of a visit to a school science fair. Martha, who had worked for Adam for over 15 years, had remarked last week that the house finally felt like a home. She had said it with a smile, as if she had been waiting a long time to see this transformation. A home. The word still sounded strange to Adam. When applied to the mansion, he had considered a status symbol, a backdrop for a successful CEO's life. But it was true. The house had become a home filled with life, with memories being made in every room. Adam thought about the upcoming guardianship hearing. His lawyers were confident, and the social worker had given a very positive report, especially after witnessing the relationship that had formed between him and Maria. Still, he couldn't shake the underlying fear. Not the fear of failing as a guardian, as he had been at the beginning, but a deeper fear of losing Maria, of losing this second chance, of losing the home they had built together. Because Adam now fully realized the truth. He hadn't saved Maria that rainy afternoon. Maria had saved him from his loneliness, from his bitterness, from the cold, distant person he had become. Every innocent question, every unexpected observation, every spontaneous hug had slowly chipped away at the wall he had built around his heart after Rachel left. Every laugh echoing through the once silent hallways had brought life to a space that had been just an empty shell. The phone on his desk rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was his secretary, Diane, calling on a Sunday, something that had been common a few months ago but was now a rarity. "Mr. Johnson, I apologize for bothering you on the weekend, but there's an issue with the Westwood acquisition. Mr. Harrington insists on a conference call this afternoon. He says it's urgent." The old Adam would have immediately rearranged his day. He would have canceled any personal commitments without hesitation. Work was work, and everything else could wait. The new Adam, the Adam with the different laugh, didn't hesitate at all. "Tell Harrington I'm not available today. I have a non-negotiable appointment with my granddaughter. We can schedule the call for 9 a.m. tomorrow." "He's not going to like that," Diane cautioned, although Adam could hear the approval in her voice. "He'll live," Adam replied simply. "Anything else, Diane?" "No, sir. Have a nice Sunday." Adam hung up, feeling a strange sense of relief. 6 months ago, the thought of postponing a meeting with one of Johnson Enterprises' biggest investors to go buy paint for a child's room would have seemed ridiculous. Now it seemed like the only choice. It wasn't that his commitment to work had diminished. Surprisingly, many people in the company had noticed he was more focused, more efficient, more present in the meetings he attended. It was as if Maria's presence had clarified his priorities in every area of his life, not just at home. "The House of Smiles," Maria had declared last week, when Adam asked her what color she wanted for her room. "That's what we'll call our house now. Not the Johnson mansion, but the House of Smiles." Adam had smiled a real smile with his eyes and cheeks and everything, as Maria had observed and agreed. The House of Smiles. Why not? It was certainly more accurate than any grand name that only reflected the property's size or value. Movement in the yard caught his attention. Maria was now sitting on the grass, making a crown out of daisies. Her face was serious with concentration, her tongue sticking out just a little the same way Rachel's used to when she was focused. Adam thought about the graduation photo of Rachel he still kept on his desk. Her determined, hopeful smile showing she was ready to conquer the world on her own terms, not his. Rachel had followed her path despite all obstacles. She had raised an extraordinary daughter alone. And then, in her final act of love and hope, she had sent that daughter back to him, trusting that this time he would be able to love without conditions, to accept without trying to control. A second chance. That's what Maria represented. Not just for him to be a better grandfather than he had been a father, but to finally learn the lesson Rachel had tried to teach him all along, that true success isn't measured by bank accounts or business empires, but by the ability to love and be loved. Adam watched Maria complete her floral crown and proudly place it on her head. Lily clapped her hands in applause at the result, and both girls laughed. The sound of their laughter echoed across the yard and through the open window, filling the office with its brightness. A small moment, insignificant to the world, but a grand event for Adam. He turned off his computer without saving the reports he had been looking at. They could wait. The bedroom, paint the flower crown, the laughter in the yard, those things couldn't. As he stood up to go out and join the girls, Adam glanced at Maria's drawing on the wall one last time. The bright blue house, the colorful flowers, the three figures holding hands. It was their home. And in the end, Adam Johnson, the man who once believed that power and wealth could bring happiness, realized that the most important things in life aren't the numbers on paper, but family moments of love and genuine connections. Will Adam truly change and become the grandfather Maria needs? Stay tuned to find out the answer in the coming days of this journey. Thank you for watching this heartfelt story. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next video. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you, because sometimes the greatest change comes from the smallest things in life.